Pantheon AI presents Boeing gets control back, 737 MAX and Dreamliner restrictions lifted. Welcome to the PAI Morning Briefing. I'm John, and it is September 26th, 2025. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, John. It feels like we have a ton to get through today. The markets are buzzing, and there's one big name making waves everywhere.
You are not wrong. Let's start with the numbers to set the scene. The S&P 500 is pretty flat, just barely up at around 6616. The Dow is similar, up just a tiny 0.08% at about 46,140.
But the NASDAQ is taking a little breather, down about 0.2%, which isn't too surprising. Tech can't go up forever. But look at the Russell 2000. It's up 0.3%. Maybe a sign that smaller companies are starting to shine?
That's a great point. It's like the energy is shifting a bit. And speaking of energy, look at crypto. Bitcoin is hovering around $109,000, but Ethereum is having a great morning, up nearly 2%.
Right, so on the surface, the big indexes look sleepy. But underneath, there's this buzz. You mentioned that shift in energy, and I think that's the real story. While the Dow seems weary, that strength in the Russell 2000 suggests investors are looking for new opportunities beyond the usual giants.
And that brings us to the biggest catalyst of the day, our old friend Boeing. The headlines are everywhere. The FAA is planning to let Boeing once again sign off on its own 737 MAX and 787 Dreamliner jets.
This is huge, John. After years of intense oversight, this feels like a massive vote of confidence. It's not just about paperwork. It's a signal to the entire aerospace sector that Boeing might finally be turning a corner.
Exactly. The market certainly sees it that way. The stock is taking off. Investors who've been waiting for what feels like an eternity are seeing this as the green light. They're betting on a broader turnaround, maybe even an attractive upward re-rating of the stock.
Of course, with every surge, there are always voices of caution. I saw an interesting piece from Bespoke Investment Group. They pointed out that the market's recent 3-day dip, which made some people nervous, might just be a natural, healthy correction.
So their take is basically, don't panic. If a small drop makes you jittery, maybe you're taking on too much risk in the first place?
Precisely. It's a good reminder. Sometimes trying to predict market movements is like, trying to predict a teenager's mood. Wildly unpredictable 1 minute and surprisingly calm the next. It's a cyclical thing.
That's a perfect analogy. And that volatility plays out differently in each sector. Even with the NASDAQ down, there's a lot of cautious optimism in tech, with everyone holding their breath for the upcoming earnings season.
And then you have the energy sector, which is another interesting subplot. With global demand rebounding, companies are consolidating. The real question investors are starting to ask is this the moment where sustainability and profitability finally meet? It's a provocative thought.
It really is. The financial sector seems more mixed. But the key word I keep hearing is resilient. The banks are holding steady, which helps support confidence in the whole economy. It's a delicate balancing act.
And you can't forget the global picture. Europe is teetering. Asia's tech scene is exploding. It reminds me of trying to follow a friend's chaotic weekend plans. Just when you think you know what's happening, something totally unexpected pops up and changes everything.
So true. Let's bring it back to Boeing for a second, because the story is so layered. This FAA news isn't just about faster deliveries, it's about rebuilding a reputation. The market is rewarding that, and for anyone invested in aviation, it feels like catching a perfect tailwind on takeoff.
Which, again, brings us back to risk. It's great to celebrate the win for Boeing, but it's also a perfect moment to remember to, keep an eye on the altimeter. Even the best pilots are always aware of their surroundings.
Well said. So to quickly recap the big headlines for everyone. First, the FAA is easing restrictions on Boeing, a huge positive signal. Second, Boeing stock is surging in response. And third, analysts are reminding us to manage our risk, seeing the recent market dip as a normal correction.
It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How long can this delicate balance last? Are we watching a quiet intermission before the next big surge in innovation, especially in areas like sustainable energy and tech?
That's the billion-dollar question. So as we wrap up, a few key takeaways. 1, don't be fooled by the flat indexes. There's a ton of action happening in specific sectors. 2, the Boeing story is a powerful lesson in how a company can pivot from major challenges.
And 3, the expert consensus is clear. Balance is everything. Celebrate the wins, but always be prepared for the market's next move. It loves to keep us on our toes.
So we'll leave our listeners with a few questions to ponder. How do you balance a turnaround story like Boeing with market reality? And what steps are you taking to make sure your portfolio can thrive in these dynamic times?
Great questions. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to the PAI Morning Briefing. Remember, Pantheon AI is your information co-pilot, here to help you navigate the financial world.
Join us again tomorrow for another deep dive. Have a great day, everyone.
Pantheon AI, your information co-pilot.
Because learning shouldn't feel like a full-time job. Take care and see you next time.